It's selfish basketball. It's a lack of awareness. And this might be the most egregious case of it. And I don't care that Lexi Hull was cold from the field. She didn't do well in this game either. But no thanks to Angel Reese, they certainly lost points on this possession.
Basketball fans could not believe their eyes when Angel Reese completely froze out her wide-open teammate during a crucial game moment. The shocking footage shows Lexi Hull desperately calling for the ball with a clear path to the basket, only to watch Reese ignore her entirely before bricking a contested shot. Is this sabotage connected to the Clark controversy? What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into some incredibly controversial footage from the unrivaled league that has basketball fans absolutely fired up. If you have been following women's basketball lately, you know Angel Reese has been making headlines constantly and not always for the right reasons. But this latest incident might be the most blatant example yet of what critics are calling extremely selfish play.
Sports supporters, well, we're going to talk about the unrivaled, more specifically the Rose BC, more specifically Angel Reese, and how one performance, and most importantly, one particular play, should send a shiver of fear, should frighten the hell out of Chicago Sky fans everywhere, because it's something, frankly, Sky fans saw a lot of last year, and I have been vocal about, and that's the fact that when Angel Reese gets the ball in her hands, anywhere close to the basket.
Before we break down exactly what happened in this game, let us set the stage for those who might not be following the unrivaled league closely. This is a professional women's basketball showcase that features some big WNBA stars during their off-season. Angel Reese, who is currently with the Chicago Sky in the WNBA, has been participating alongside teammates like Lexi Hull and veteran Chelsea Gray. Reese's team, Rose BC, had actually been on a surprising 5-game winning streak heading into this matchup. After starting the season with a disappointing 1-4 record, they had found their rhythm and were looking like legitimate playoff contenders. But what transpired in this game has left fans and analysts questioning team chemistry and Reese's approach to the game.
So, her game yesterday, my God, right here, 71-62, a loss. And her game was ugly.
Let us get straight to the most shocking moment that has everyone talking. The footage clearly shows Lexi Hull making a perfect cut toward the basket. She is completely uncovered, has her hand up calling for the ball, and is in position for what would have been an easy layup. This was not some split-second opportunity that was easy to miss. Hull was wide open for several seconds, actively calling for the pass. What does Angel Reese do? Despite having clear eye contact and an easy passing lane, she completely ignores her teammate. Instead, Reese forces up a contested shot that clanks off the rim. It is the basketball equivalent of watching someone hold a door closed while their teammate is knocking to get in. Now, any basketball coach from middle school to the pros will tell you that passing to the open player is basketball 101. When your teammate has a clear path to the basket, you make that pass 10 times out of 10. This was not a complex read or a difficult decision. It was one of the most straightforward basketball situations possible.
I said before, guys, I've tried to be real honest about the fact that I think Angel's more concerned about being an influencer, content creator, over being a better basketball player. And I think this might be the perfect example of that. All right? This is either before or right after the game. They got destroyed in this game, by the way. They did. This was her taking pictures, hanging out with some rappers and producers, etc.
What makes this particularly problematic is that this happened early in the game. This was not late in the fourth quarter when tensions are high, and players sometimes make questionable decisions under pressure. This was in the first quarter when the team was still establishing their rhythm and game plan. But this was not just an isolated incident in an otherwise solid performance. According to the stat line, Reese had an absolutely dreadful game overall. In 13 minutes of play, She managed just 8 points on 4 of 10 shooting, missing her only 3-point attempt and her only free throw. While she did grab 13 rebounds, she also committed 4 personal fouls and 2 turnovers. Most tellingly, she failed to score a single point in the entire second half. In stark contrast, veteran Chelsea Gray put the team on her back, scoring a staggering 38 points out of the team's total of 62. That means Gray accounted for over 61% of the entire team's scoring output. As one fan commented online, "Poor Chelsea, she is really doing all she could do to save her teammates." The lack of team play was evident across the board. Outside of Gray and Reese, the other 2 players, Ariel Atkins and Lexi Hull, combined for just 2 points, both coming from Hull. This kind of statistical distribution does not happen in balanced team-oriented basketball. What makes this situation particularly interesting is the timing. Just last week, Reese had received widespread praise for recording what was described as the first 20 to 20 inches game in unrivaled league history, posting 22 points and 21 rebounds. She was celebrated across social media and sports outlets for this achievement. But now, just days later, we are seeing what appears to be the opposite end of the spectrum, a performance marked by ball hogging and poor shot selection. This has led many to question whether Reese is more focused on personal statistics than team success. The stark contrast between her willingness to pass in some games versus her tunnel vision in others has created a perception, fair or not, that personal stats might be driving her decision-making on the court. Of course, this latest controversy does not exist in isolation. Angel Reese has been at the center of numerous headlines since her college days at LSU, where she famously embraced the villain role, particularly during their championship run that culminated in a victory over Caitlyn Clark's Iowa team. That rivalry and the subsequent gestures and comments have followed both players into their professional careers. Some observers are drawing connections between Reese's treatment of Hull and the ongoing Caitlyn Clark saga. Hull, like Clark, is a white player who does not receive the same level of media attention as Reese. This has led to speculation in some corners that there might be underlying tensions related to race, media coverage, or even lingering feelings about the Clark situation affecting team dynamics. It is worth noting that Lexi Hull and Caitlyn Clark have no direct rivalry or known issues between them, but some fans are questioning whether Reese's apparent freezing out of Hull might reflect broader frustrations about attention and spotlight in women's basketball. Is Hull becoming collateral damage in a larger narrative? The stats tell a compelling story here. When a team loses and one player takes the majority of shots while ignoring open teammates, questions about team chemistry are inevitable. Chelsea Gray, a veteran point guard known for her high basketball IQ and team-first approach, somehow managed to score 38 points despite the disjointed offensive approach. One can only imagine how the team might have performed if everyone had been on the same page. This also speaks to a larger issue in basketball culture. The balance between individual achievement and team success is delicate. While basketball is ultimately a team sport, individual statistics drive endorsement deals, contract values, and media attention. For young players especially, this can create complicated incentives that do not always align with winning games.
Angel Reese, the content creator side, I guess, right? Once again, it's pretty clear basketball is her top priority. I cannot imagine how anybody could view this athlete in any other way. It's clear basketball is front and foremost in her mind at all times. Right? Question mark. All right, here we go. This is her. This is Angel dancing, I guess. It says game day mood. So I'm taking it. I would assume this would have been posted. It's 11:50 a.m. So I'm assuming this would have been posted prior to getting the absolute shit beat out of them the other day by the Mist. I'm talking about the Rose BC. Surely they wouldn't have. Look, the moment you lost, you might have took this down because she had a god-awful game. But okay. This does nothing but fuel the she could care less about basketball critics. Yeah, who that might be, I don't know. But I'm just throwing this out. Here we go. Let's check it out. That's right. Let me turn this down. I'm not fitting to get a copyright. It's clear. I think it's clear to all of us that basketball is obviously at the forefront.
What is particularly concerning for Reese supporters is that these types of incidents feed directly into the narrative she is trying to escape. She has repeatedly stated that she feels unfairly targeted by media and fans who focus on controversies rather than her accomplishments. Yet moments like the one with Hull provide ready ammunition for critics. The unrivaled league itself is in an interesting position with all of this. As a relatively new platform trying to build viewership and legitimacy, having star players like Reese brings valuable attention, but that attention becomes a double-edged sword when controversy overshadows the quality of play. League officials are undoubtedly monitoring these situations closely, recognizing that while drama might drive short-term engagement, the long-term success of the league depends on high-quality, team-oriented basketball. Coaches and teammates face difficult challenges in addressing these situations. Public criticism of teammates is generally considered taboo in professional sports, but behind closed doors, these issues must be addressed for teams to function effectively. Chelsea Gray, as a veteran leader, likely has the respect and authority to have those difficult conversations, but whether they are happening and whether they are being heard remains to be seen. It is also worth considering the pressure Reese faces as one of the most visible young stars in women's basketball. The transition from college to professional basketball is challenging for any player, and doing so under intense public scrutiny adds another layer of complexity. Every move, both on and off the court, is analyzed and often criticized. This does not excuse poor team play, but it does provide context for understanding the pressures that might influence decision-making. Some defenders of Reese have pointed out that one bad game and one questionable decision does not define a player. Everyone has off nights, and even the greatest players occasionally make selfish or short-sighted plays. They argue that the level of scrutiny Reese faces is disproportionate compared to other players who might make similar mistakes without generating headlines. However, critics counter that this is not about one isolated incident, but rather part of a pattern of behavior that has followed Reese from college into her professional career. They point to various controversies, from taunting opponents to social media feuds, as evidence of a larger issue with sportsmanship and team-first mentality. The truth, as always, likely lies somewhere in the middle. Reese is neither the villain her harshest critics make her out to be, nor is she simply a misunderstood star being unfairly targeted. She is a young athlete navigating the complexities of professional sports, media attention, and the pressure to perform, sometimes handling it well and other times struggling, just like most people would in her position. As fans and observers, the most productive approach is to acknowledge both the legitimate criticisms and the context in which they occur. We can recognize that ignoring an open teammate for a contested shot is poor basketball, while also understanding that excessive focus on every mistake can create an unbalanced narrative. What is undeniable, though, is that the footage from this game speaks for itself. Basketball is ultimately about making the right play at the right time, and in that moment, the right play was clearly to pass to the open Hull. The failure to do so, regardless of any external factors or prior context, was a breakdown in fundamental basketball principles that coaches teach from day one. As the unrivaled league season continues and Reese returns to the WNBA, this incident will likely be added to the growing list of talking points surrounding her career. How she responds, whether by adjusting her approach to emphasize team play or by doubling down on her current style, will significantly shape the next chapter of her basketball journey. For now, the basketball world will continue to watch closely, with supporters hoping for growth and critics expecting more of the same. The only certainty is that Angel Reese, for better or worse, remains one of the most compelling and conversation-generating figures in women's basketball today. Looking more closely at the game footage reveals additional context that makes the situation even more perplexing. The play occurred when Rose BC was actually in a favorable position. They were not desperately behind, trying to mount a comeback where individual heroics might be more understandable. They were in a competitive situation where team basketball would typically be the optimal approach. Chelsea Gray, who ended up carrying the team offensively, is widely regarded as one of the best passers in the game. Her court vision and ability to find open teammates are elite skills that have defined her career. Watching her heroic 38-point performance raises questions about team dynamics. Was Gray forced into a scorer's role because the team's offensive flow was disrupted by ball-dominant play from others? Media narratives surrounding Reese have been polarizing from the beginning of her professional career. Supporters point to the double standards they believe exist in how female athletes particularly black female athletes, are portrayed when they display confidence or competitive fire. Critics argue that actions, not identity, drive the criticism she receives. As with many such debates, selective evidence can be found to support either position. The situation with Hull is particularly interesting because she is not a high-profile player who might be seen as competition for spotlight or attention. Hull, a former Stanford standout, has maintained a relatively low profile in her professional career. There is no obvious basketball reason why feeding Hull for an easy basket would have been anything but beneficial for the team. This raises uncomfortable questions about interpersonal dynamics within teams. Professional sports are workplaces where people with different personalities, backgrounds, and approaches must collaborate effectively, despite potential personal differences. Not every teammate needs to be friends off the court, but functioning cohesively on it is essential for success. The coaching staff of Rose BC faces difficult questions after this performance. How do they address the apparent breakdown in team play? Do they show the film to the entire team, highlighting missed opportunities and selfish decisions? Do they have private conversations with individual players? These delicate situations test the leadership abilities of coaches as much as they test the maturity of players. For the unrivaled league as a whole, this type of controversy presents both challenges and opportunities. While negative attention is not ideal, any conversation that drives interest in women's basketball can potentially grow the audience. The league's challenge is to ensure that the quality of play and sportsmanship become the primary talking points rather than controversies. Looking ahead, both Rose BC and Angel Reese have opportunities to change the narrative through their play. Basketball has a wonderful way of providing redemption stories. A single game of unselfish team-oriented play can begin shifting perceptions. Great players throughout history have faced criticism and responded by elevating their game and approach. What cannot be disputed is the cold, hard statistical reality of this particular game. 4 of 10 shooting, 0 points in the second half, 2 turnovers, and 4 personal fouls in just 13 minutes of play is an objectively poor performance by professional standards. While everyone is entitled to have off nights, the manner of play, particularly the documented instance of ignoring an open teammate, raises legitimate questions beyond simple shooting percentages. For Chelsea Gray, this game highlights both her incredible talent and the challenging position she finds herself in. As a veteran and champion, Gray understands what it takes to win at the highest level. Scoring 38 points in a losing effort where your team manages just 62 total points is simultaneously impressive and frustrating. Gray's professionalism in handling the situation will be crucial for team chemistry moving forward. The broader conversation about women's basketball that emerges from incidents like this is complex. On one hand, passionate debate and even controversy can drive interest in the sport, potentially bringing new viewers who might stay for the incredible athletic talent on display. On the other hand, focusing too heavily on drama rather than basketball excellence can undermine the very progress women's sports has fought so hard to achieve. The evidence is on video, a teammate wide open, desperately signaling for the ball while being deliberately ignored. Was this simple basketball selfishness or something more personal? Subscribe now for our follow-up investigation into team chemistry issues. Hit that like button and drop your honest opinion below. Team player or calculated sabotage?